Let's wait a second longer for YouTube. Are live. That took a hot minute. Anyway, we should be on that. So today, I don't want to say we're going to finish up this boss fight because there's a lot of like polish needed. But I think this or the next stream might be the last like stream in this like 3-month long series that we've been doing of me progressively working on this boss fight. By the end of this, I think we'll more or less have everything in place, and from there it's going to be just a lot of tweaking, adding particle facts, that kind of stuff. Some of which I might do on stream, but the actual boss fight itself is pretty close to being done. So let's take a look at what we have so far to remind ourselves of what still needs to be done. And for that I need to figure out where I have this guy. So it's in enemies, characters, bosses, Reaper. First and foremost, we definitely need to have a better 3D model than this for the projectile. We'll look into that in a moment. Maybe we need to look into like a material stuff as well. We can do something like that. But for now, let's just focus on... I don't think the blueprint itself really needs to do anything. Yeah, we are not using the aggressive and passive subtrees anymore. That was an idea that I had at some point, which did actually force me to improve my code as far as the behavior tree itself goes. But I'm not actually using that anymore. We're just down to... Oh, I didn't actually compile after last time. Hold on. Let's just open up something in VS Code and then close this. Don't save anything, and we're just going to real quick do a compile. Hello and welcome people watching. We're just getting started up here today. Compile. Oh, it didn't compile because the project wasn't quite closed yet. It's fair enough. We might do a little bit of animation today as well, because we need to still make his like idle animation, which he does when he's like in his passive state, like a taunting animation or something like that. And then I think it's just like giving him stats, really. And from there, of course, we need to include a pre- and post-fight cutscene, but I'm not going to include that in like the process of making the boss fight, because that's going to be a whole thing in and of itself. And I really need to figure out like a good workflow of how to set up proper cutscenes, because I tried it with the Knight, the first boss fight for the tutorial, and that cutscene at some point just broke, presumably because it's using the actual character mesh for well, for both of them, but specifically for the player. And that seems to have maybe kind of fucked with that cutscene. So I need to just do a little bit of research as to how Unreal expects you to do that. Does it expect you to like swap in a non-controlled, just like rigged mesh, instead of actually using the character's blueprint, which also can still be controlled through all that, of course, but that would make a certain amount of sense. But I would prefer it to actually be the character, right? Because it should be able to just be the character, because there's a lot of Unreal Engine games where these days you go seamlessly from a cutscene into gameplay, and that implies that the thing that you were seeing in the cutscene was actually like physically the player character being animated. It's not like it used to be back in the day, like PlayStation 2, maybe PlayStation 3 games, where your player character would just like be invisible, and there would be a secondary character mesh which was just hanging out under the level in the T-pose until the cutscene came up. That used to be a thing. That used to be how 3D cutscenes were made most of the time. I don't think you need to do that anymore. Did the mesh change, you're saying? So like if someone makes a cutscene would it be a good idea to use a separate mesh so the asset doesn't change as the game gets developed? That's not what I'm saying. If you're making cutscenes, you need to make sure that at least the skeleton that you're using is pretty much final, I think. Because if you make a change to the skeleton, you're gonna be fucked. At that point, you can still update the skeletal mesh itself, because that is just like the thing that you're animating is the skeleton, right? The thing that you're animating is not the mesh. The mesh just follows the movement of the skeleton. So if you then change something about that mesh, that's fine. But at least the skeleton definitely will need to be like the final version. Or you have to be prepared to make a cutscene 2 or 3 times as you update that stuff. Okay, so now everything here works perfectly fine. Okay, so this more or less seems to be the thingamajig. The behavior for this boss fight, which actually ends up being relatively simple, I think. I don't think we need that much more to this. Anyway, I'm absolutely already getting sidetracked, so let's try to see... actually, I'm going to mute this because it's going to be annoying to hear. I'm going to just kind of like hang out and... Maybe we should actually do... Okay, I've got an idea. I have got an idea. Let's give him some stats first. And actually display an HP bar in there as well. So, and here somewhere we have a sub-level for 115. I hope that when I have like a absolute shit ton of levels here, it will allow me to like scroll through this. Hopefully it will. I don't know. So we have got the Reaper boss here, for which we need to have... Keeps unloading this because it's just too much to have all this in memory apparently. For which we'll need a reference to whatever the hell this is. So let's just create that reference. And then I think we want to create widgets. For now, this was an issue before with the night boss as well, specifically in only packaged games. In the editor it worked perfectly fine, in the packaged game it doesn't, which is annoying. Where sometimes if the boss kills you, the HP bar doesn't disappear, which for obvious reasons is a problem. So I need to look into how to set that up anyway. But for now, we just do boss health, which does that specifically reference the night boss? I fucking hope not. I guess we'll figure it out though. Boss health, I think it just takes in an enemy, right? It's generic. It's just an enemy. Enemy HP. What type is this? This is an enemy HP object reference. What even is that? What even is enemy HP objects? What type is this? Variable type, enemy HP. What? I need to look into that. What? Okay, let's set values. Oh, enemy HP is probably... Enemy HP is that thing. It's the HP bar. Okay, I figured it out. Then we've got the text block for the boss name. We got a little bit of an animation playing here, and we just need to set the boss value, which I don't expose on spawn, but I probably should. Greetings, even Steven back. I don't know what was up with the accent there, but okay. So now if we go into Reaper boss and we add this, first and foremost, instance editable. Oh yeah. If something is exposed on spawn, it also needs to be instance editable. That is fair enough. Then we can refresh this node, given the boss. It's real good. And then we can set, what did I call it? Set info or something like that? I called it something. Set values. Which, oh, that also sets the boss reference. That probably should be exposed on spawn. Boss name, Reaper Boy. Very, very serious. I'm a very serious person. And then we simply add to viewport. I don't actually remember how we remove it in the other level blueprint that we have, but I'm just gonna like not think about that for the time being. I just want to see whether or not... I think we shouldn't need to do any like fancy code stuff anymore to set this up. We've got the Reaper Boy now, and if we start attacking him, I think everything should just work, right? So we've got, yeah, so all of the like just basic gameplay ability system stuff works. The only thing that does not seem to work is the automatic targeting. And I'm not sure why that is, if I'm being 1000% honest with you. That is interesting to look into. There's nothing going to say in the final release of the game, I'm telling you. I mean, I'm not saying that it won't. But it maybe not. You know, I could make like a meme mode. I do want to look into, when I'm further into the development, to like what I always liked when I was growing up, like the early odds, was games in that time always had like cheat codes, and not just a menu where you just put a tick box in and you suddenly have infinite money, right? Like the whole Konami code thing, I can't talk today. That style of cheat code where you're like up, down, left, right, B, A, select, star. That's not a Konami code, but it's close enough. Like a lot of games used to have cheat codes like that, where a specific button combination would do something goofy. Like, I distinctly remember that in Spyro the Dragon, you used to have like a whole bunch of cheat codes. Like one where you enabled big head mode, and you had like 6 or 7 different colors that you could make Spyro. So I always played Spyro as like a black dragon with a big head. There was one where it made him 2D, just like a 2D plane with a Spyro texture on it. What it actually probably did is just made his 3D model infinitely thin. But there was a lot of like cheat codes like that, and I kind of want to look into maybe having some funny things that you can do like that, which I can just like put out in like the YouTube community tab, or I was gonna say on Twitter, but let's be real. And maybe they can like circulate around the internet if enough people want to play this game. I always liked like the mythology around having those cheat codes in your game. It's always kind of fun. So maybe I can have like a developer names mode. Where I just like have this guy called Reaper Boy. and the night will just be like fucking Sir Fox-a-lot or something. I don't know. Those are kind of things that I personally really like doing. Anyway, getting back to this, why am I not doing the thing with the thing that does the things? I'm guessing it may be because, oh, I think I know what might be happening. We have the lock on widget, right? Which I think is just not being set to a value. Yeah, the widget class is none. So if I go into my, again, blueprints, enemies, I'm starting to learn my own damn folder structure. Are you guys proud of me? No? Okay. So I think if I go into here and I just check out, we have the lock on widget. That's what the class name was called. There we go. If I set this now, this will, well, first and foremost, be fucking humongous. But it also needs to, real-time space will be world. Draw size is 10 and 10. I'm fairly certain that on the other enemies it is actually set up differently. Let me go double check. I know that basic demon has the setup as I want it. Yeah, so these are actually projected in screen space. Which is probably what I actually want. Then again, I think I might have kept a night one in world space. Because I didn't want it to be visible. I think that was it. And it just kind of like exists inside the model, so you can't actually see it. But I think now that it does have that, because what I was trying to do, I think, is it tries to set the value to... Yeah, no, never mind. I was going to say, I think it tries to set the value of the lock-on icon to something and then sets that enemy to like your nearest enemy. But if it doesn't have that widget on it, it's going to fail to do that. But that's clearly not what is happening here. So, that's weird. I don't know. Yeah, that's weird. It's kind of weird. I'm going to open a window real quick because it's getting kind of hot in here. It's been hot outside for a few days and now it's finally cooling off. But like my room, it takes like forever to actually cool down. So I'm going to open a window real quick and maybe that will give me inspiration. It's literally like 2 steps away from where I sit. So I can even keep talking if you want to. I'm going to be a little bit quiet, but it's just stopped raining, I think. So a little bit of fresh air probably wouldn't hurt. You see, I didn't even stop talking as I was walking away, and now I'm back and I can hear myself again and everything is fine. And what the fuck is happening to my phone? I need my phone to be a stream deck. Can you please just like not give me any pop-ups? That would be perfect. So now, why isn't this being recognized as being... It's, I think I have an ID. I think I know why. I think I know why. Because I disabled the collision for this fucker, didn't I? So it's not being... Let's look at the code. Instead of guessing, let's just look at the code. If I can find where I put this class to begin with. What a multitasker. I'm so talented. You have no idea. I'm probably the most talented person like ever, really, when it comes down to it. Like I don't think there's a lot of competition even. I'm like miles ahead. Like I can talk and open a window at the same time. I can't talk and actually stay on topic of what I'm trying to do in Engine while I'm working. I can't do that. But who, like, honestly, who can? Right? I don't think that is physically possible for any human being to do. At least not when they're made. Okay, action RPG character. I think I have a folder for the player. There we go. Yes. So let's take a look at find nearby enemies. Update nearby enemies. Let's see. This probably should be like 3 functions, by the way. Okay, so we do a sphere overlap. What are the parameters for sphere overlap? World context object, sphere location, radius, object types. So object types is everything that is a pawn. Object type add, convert object type e-collision channel, game trace channel 13. which is gonna be hard to figure out. I think that's one of my custom channels. Potentially. Right? Maybe. Okay, that's kind of annoying. If I just look for 13. There is a file somewhere that has like the name of all those things, but I don't remember where that file is, and I think looking for it is actually going to take longer than just guessing at this point. But let's try to figure out like collision channels. Okay, so our custom ones are weapon, projectile, player, block, enemy, ignore. So descriptive. And then we've got a trace channel for grab ledge. Gonna be real with you, I don't think it's any of them. So I think it's... Like what okay, so hold on. What is this line even doing? Oh, it's locking onto projectiles. Okay. So this line is not relevant. This line is not relevant because I'm not locked onto a projectile. Maybe I should read my own code before getting confused. No, I don't think I've lost custom collision channels because they're still here in engine. I just needed a refresher on like what they are and what number they are. It would be really nice if it gave you like the number of the collision channel in this view as well. Because in the C++ code, the only way to refer to your collision channels is through this way, like eCollision channel, ECC, game trace channel 13. In this case, a 13, it can go up to like 18, I believe. Or 18 custom ones, something like that. It would be really nice if there's a more convenient way to either call this by the name or to be able to see if they're like what their collision channel number is. Yeah, but this line of code doesn't matter in the end. So we just add any pawn that we overlap with. Let's see. Object type uClass. Okay, so yeah, we do actually. That's the issue. We try to get a sphere like overlap thing with the on the pawn channel. And we don't have that enabled on this, I don't think, right? That's what's going on. Because we disabled that. So I think if I now set this back to overlap instead of ignore, I can still walk through it, but it'll at least pick him up for my enemy proximity system. Game trace channel 3, not 13, by the way. Oh, 3, you are entirely right. That's an L, not a 1. So then what? Oh, it's custom channel 3 then, right? That's what that is. Custom channel 3 would be no, because custom channel 3 would be not project. I don't fucking know. I don't care. I do care. I'm lying. I think that my that's just pawn, right? There's no, because this would start at 0. I'm going to just stop worrying about it. I think I fixed it. That's the important part. But you're entirely right. It is channel 3, not channel 13. How you managed to pick that out with the resolution that we have available here is... It still doesn't do it. Still doesn't do it. Does it need to be on block? Does it need to be on block? Pawn block. I very much... maybe actually, maybe it does. Maybe it does need to be on block, which would be a little annoying. We'll see. Eventually, I'm sure that we could also like set up a channel specifically for that. But yeah, so now... Yeah, we're still not doing it, are we? Just to... like triple, quadruple, quintuple check. Oh. Oh, that's why. Hold on. That's why. This thing is not an object type pawn. I changed it to player block enemy ignore because of the whole fountain thing. Okay. Yeah. Let's just change him back to pawn for the time being. To see whether or not that makes it work. I probably should do this within the blueprint itself, actually. But I think that now might mean that I can set this back to ignore again, which would be ideal, because that means that I'm not getting blocked by the capsule collision. Yeah, okay, so that works again. That's fantastic. The only issue is that his dashing attack is now going to be problematic with the... Yeah, that. He should be able to dash through that. I guess in the worst case scenario, we can just disable his collision during that attack. Like, during the dashing portion, we can just disable his collision. Which is not ideal. Because then technically we also can't hit him during the dash. But that's fine, honestly, if he's just invincible for like a split second. I don't think that's a big deal. And I think it is the easiest workaround for now until I maybe get a better ID, but that seems like I probably should do it that way. There's an ability all to itself anyway, so we can just say, hey, when this ability activates... let's see, this is the dash, so we just set collision for the actor to be no longer enabled, and then when the dash ends, the collision will be enabled again, so that he can actually also hit us. That's quite important. Which I guess we can just do on end ability. Just in case if this ability gets interrupted and like one of the... If we place a node here, it doesn't run. It will always run when we do end ability. So we probably should be rather safe than sorry about that. Because that feels like if it is going to be an issue, it's gonna be an issue. But that should fix that, I think. Anyway, getting back to the whole channel 3 versus channel 13 thing, I'm quite impressed because I did not see that. Then again, if you just see like one vertical line and you know that the word is channel, it's just probably being me. It's probably me just being an idiot. Holy hell. I can't talk today, which is kind of too bad if you're streaming. Remember when I said I was good at multitasking? Yeah, no, I'm not. Hey, I very much do appreciate you... slicing that attack at me. It definitely needs to move faster, by the way. But I want you to dash through this pillar if at all possible. Could you do that? Could you fucking not? Holy shit. Oh, hold on. Well, that is actually an interesting... That is entirely unintended, but I think when he... Okay, so that doesn't work. But I did just realize something else, right? Because when he does that... now he's not going to do it. Now he's going to do the dash attack. Mark my words. So when he does that attack, until it hits something, he's stuck in that ability. Which means he's not moving or able to attack you. That seemed like something that might be exploitable. And here we get into a little thing, which I like to call, let speedrunners have their fun. Yeah, he's not moving. See? Until it hits something. Oh, he can actually... Hold on. Why can he... Because it... Okay. Okay. So, what happens is... I'll just show you in the behavior tree. I don't even need to test this. I know what happens. When he does that little slice attack that creates a projectile, it's waiting for that ability to end, and it's sticking around in this ability task, because we finally figured out how to keep a ability, probably should get rid of this node as well, keep an ability task in the behavior tree active until the ability physically actually ends, which is really, really nice. So until it hits something, that ability is technically still active. And if that ability is technically still active, its bool for being on spline and being allowed to move is set to false. And it cannot move on to whatever else. It's actually stuck in this one, I believe. Not this one, but it doesn't really matter. So it's just going to be stuck here until that thing hits something. But, and this is a very important but, and that also might mean... okay, let me finish a sentence before I start a new one. If we get closer than... it's this one, actually. If we get closer than 600 units, this decorator here will abort lower priority tasks. Meaning that if we're stuck on this one, we're just like hanging out here. Whenever this becomes true, it aborts what it was doing and it does this instead. So it still doesn't attack when you get very close to it. Now, that does potentially come with a problem where that projectile still exists. Right? That projectile still does exist. And that is a problem, because if the ability is cancelled, but that projectile then hits something after that ability expires, it's not going to be able to properly deal damage, because it relies on the ability being active to deal damage. And I thought that might be a problematic thing to do. And now we're starting to run into issues where, yes, that indeed is a problematic thing to do, because that's a huge problem. So we could refactor that in a way that it is not relevant whether or not the ability is still active, and I think that'll be the better thing to do. Or we could say that this should not interrupt these abilities. And as a matter of fact, actually, I think that's what we're going to do, because now that I think about it, this node will actually never run. Because it's always going to interrupt this whenever it gets close enough and do the attacking through here. Which is not ideal, maybe. So yeah, let's maybe not have this one interrupt. Also begs the question, I don't think this one will be able to run whenever this condition is false though still. What does apply decorator scope do? If set, all decorators in branch will be removed when execution flow leaves. Okay, that's interesting. I think I'm going to set this one to not abort anything. I think that's the way we do that. I'm still going to probably change the projectile to deal the damage on its own, rather than it sending a message back to the gameplay ability, which then deals the damage. I think that was probably going to be a better way to do it. Yeah. A lot of AI coding streams to watch. Yeah, we've been at this AI thing for a while. We're getting close to finishing up at least like the rough outlines of it. And then fine-tuning it is going to take forever. But anyway. So this projectile, right? Instead of just sending an event to the actor, what we'll probably want to do is I want to... This is something that we probably should have made more like exposed to the entire system earlier. But here in play basic attack animation, we have this function, right? Wait for and deal damage or events. Same thing. We can more or less... I think none of these are latent, right? Yeah, so all of this can be collapsed into a function of its own. So let's do that. Collapse into function. New function, deal damage to player. Which, I mean, okay. Let's deal with that real quick, because that is definitely not a great way to... Oh, that's already... Is that... This is object reference, that's an actor object reference. What the hell is happening? Like, all of this is... Why is this just an object? That's entirely fine to be... Okay, let's just make everything connect up to actor, which... this is why we keep things... I think it's this line. I made a macro of delay with duration frames instead of seconds, and that works. I guess you... Yeah. I guess if you can supply in a delta time, if you just simply multiply the amount of seconds by delta time, then the seconds turn into frames. So that should work, yeah. That said though, we're going to hit actor. So now we have this... oh my god. Oh, that makes sense. Now we have this function here. And we just need to copy this into like a function library. Which we can just create one somewhere here. Where is it? Macro library? No. Function library. Gameplay functions. Deal damage to player? Almost. Almost. Just need to figure out a couple more things in order for that to work, because I think in here we have, yeah, get avatar actor info. So that is the damage source. And that might be a problem, the ability system component actually. I will look... Fighting games always should run at either 60 frames per second or I'm guessing you're saying 30. Yeah, but programming your stuff, assuming that it will run at a certain frame rate, is a really good way to have your stuff break when it doesn't. Like, there's a example like Rayman 2, which I have run into a few times, where in Rayman 2, the I think it's some kind of progress bar. I think it's the like breath bar for when you're underwater. Runs on like just subtracting like a percentage per frame. Because they figured, oh, this game's always going to be running at 30 frames per second. But if you play it these days, of course, the game will probably run at like 60 or 120 or whatever. Unless you specifically kept the game at 30 frames per second. If you run at a higher frame rate, which most modern systems will do automatically because they're hooked up to higher frame rate monitors and stuff like that, that kind of makes certain underwater sections of that game impossible. So I probably would be wary of project settings has a setting to lock to a certain frame rate. Still, I probably would put in the work personally to make sure that you don't just assume something like that. Like, it's actually pretty easy to do what you're wanting to do, but also still have it work if it runs at like 50 frames per second, for instance. Because that's the other side of that issue, right? Is fighting games should always run at 60 frames per second, but what if somebody isn't running it at 60 frames per second and not too high, because you can just cap that frame rate in Unreal, you're right about that. But what if somebody's PC doesn't quite hit what what you're expecting them to hit, and their game runs at 50 frames per second or 40 frames per second, which is still pretty much like, that's still playable. But if your code isn't frame rate independent, that might, I'm not saying that it will, but that might mess some things up a little bit. Anyway, gameplay ability system, we'll look into that. I think I've got an easy way around doing all that. So then I think we can just copy all this over now. So if we do this, oh no, that's not good. That's not good. Can we copy the entire function over? Is that something we can do? I wonder. We can. Get AI controller. That is fine. If the frame rate ever drops below actually 60 FPS, that is an optimization and should be fixed ASAP. If you're on a console, yes. If you're releasing on a PC, you're not going to be able to control what hardware people play this on. You can make sure that like the average Steam PC, like these are statistics that you can just find what the average Steam user uses. Like, you can make sure that it at least runs as desired on that hardware. And then most people will probably not have a problem with it. But again, if something is on Steam or on Epic or whatever, or on PC, there's going to be edge cases. There's going to be people with less powerful hardware that will just like mess up stuff. That's an issue. Damaged gameplay events. I guess that has to be a parameter as well. Then. Okay, that might be problematic, to be honest with you. I hadn't thought about that. Let me think about that for a moment. Because we've got the what was it? Yeah, so damaged gameplay events. Why is that even a parameter? Like, do we have separate ones for separate attacks? Because it doesn't seem like that should be a thing. Are we in the event graph doing any stuff with that as well? It seems like we are not. So that gives me hope. That does give me hope. Let's see. Like, might light attack. Damage gameplay event. Enemy to player damage. Yes. Okay. Yeah, now we can do that, I think. Let's go back to our... Yeah, so we have ability system component from our hit actor. But this now needs to be changed around a little bit. So try activate ability. Yeah, it does need... Yeah. Try activate ability by class, maybe? GB RAM, 1060, 3 gigahertz. Yeah, that's pretty reasonable to assume that not all the people are going to be under that. Still, I do think that making assumptions like that is just like a bad habit. Like, just designing your code in a way, because this is not even like you're going to be spending an hour fixing it. It's if you just assume 60 frames per second always, that just leaves the door open for so many issues. While what you could do is if you just like have, it's literally as simple as this, right? If we have it in a actual event graph here, like if we have a delay, right? This is 1 second. No, actually, it is a little bit more tricky than that. You're right. Because I was going to say, if we just take in this and we like make a multiplication of that, that's like 1 second. And if we multiply that by like delta time. Now this should now be 1 frame. So this is now 1 frame in length. It's, to be specific, it is the length of the last frame in delay. But if we set this to like 3, this delay will now be about 3 frames long. If your frames vary a little bit in length, there might be like a slight difference there. But just doing it like this, and if you're not an event tick, that's right, you can just get world delta seconds instead. Like, just this node setup, now you've got a frame rate independent delay node, which can do frames instead of seconds. So, like, there's no reason not to do it this way, and like instead doing something like, I don't know, that would be like like 1 over 60, because you're assuming that it's 60 FPS, and then multiplying that by your actual frames. Like, this works, and this will be 50 frames of delay, so like 5 frames of delay. Like, this works only if it is 60 frames per second, and this works regardless of your frame rate. And this is like the same amount of work to actually set up. Anyway, what was I doing again? I was doing something here. Oh yeah. Oh, this is... I'm looking at the wrong thing anyway, aren't I? because it is this. So yeah, we have... Okay, so this already does the thing because we already have the gameplay ability components and then the target components. So that all makes sense. Okay, that'll just work. The only thing that I need to be sure of then is in the Reaper. And the Reaper projectile, instead of sending a gameplay event to there, is we need to apply damage. Do we need to like implement that or whatever? We might need to. Oh, deal damage, I called it. So this is connected to false, right? Yep. So deal damage to player. And then instead of giving in this actor itself, we give the damage source as the instigator. So it'll still be the actual Reaper. Yeah, okay. So it will still be the actual Reaper that's getting used for the damage calculation and stuff. And then damage to player or something it was called, right? Enemy damage to player. I don't know why that is a variable or a parameter in this case, and not just something static. I might have had a reason to have different gameplay effects. I don't know. Honest question, if you know everything about blueprints, Blender, why it takes long to finish the game? Number one is time, and number two is nobody knows everything. So that's already like a an incorrect view to go into that with, I would say. Specifically Blender, I'm actually like pretty bad at Blender for the most part. And I don't think, especially as a solo dev, I don't think your goal should be to learn everything about like any particular part of the process, because you're never gonna. But aside from all that, aside from the fact that I don't know everything, and I never will, is just knowing stuff doesn't necessarily then mean that you can like make Dark Souls in a weekend, right? I'm not exactly making Dark Souls, but it's like a Souls-like. I like to call it a Souls-light. It's kind of like a Souls-like, but lighter. In like the difficulty department, at least. I would hope. It just takes time to make stuff, and I get distracted a lot, and I have like a job. So I only have so many hours in a week that I can work on this, and making a game like this just takes thousands of work hours to actually accomplish. So that is mostly why. So yeah, that should now have fixed that. But I also now need to go into the projectile ability, I think. And once the... Yeah, so don't wait for the gameplay event. Don't wait for damage anymore. We just end the ability after the animation is complete. Which will make this fight a bit more aggressive and a bit more difficult. But we'll see. Actually, though. Actually. There we go. I want to set the random chance for this back to 100 so that it always does this. If you guys are hearing chickens in the background, I am too. So we can just like think about making chicken soup, and maybe they'll shut up. Okay, so if this hits me, it deals damage and it disappears. Perfect. then I want to test, do you actually, like, if this thing just keeps following me, keeps following me, keeps following me. I meant to let it stay alive. It died. So yeah, let's try to have it follow me all the way around. Will you at some point? Yes, you do add a second one. And then they hit each other. Okay, that's funny. That is funny. Okay, something, try activate ability by class. Doesn't work because get ability system component. So yeah, we probably should put in an is valid here. So that it doesn't even try to execute the rest of the code. Unless it can find an ability system components. To be fair, this is only ever going to deal damage to the player, so I probably can just check whether or not the actor we hit is equal to the player. I need to clean this up because this is a mess and unreadable. But that's not a like overly important bit of the code, I don't think. So maybe let's just test out the boss fight for a bit. What's your weakest and strongest point in Unreal? That's a good question. I would dare say that my strongest point is probably programming. Oh, we also have that. Hold on. We were troubleshooting something entirely different as well a moment ago, which is the other ability here. Just like programming in general is probably my strongest point, and I think I probably call level design a somewhat weaker point. I would argue that my weakest point is art. Yeah, so that doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? I know why it doesn't work. I know why it doesn't work. Where's the dash? Where's the dash? Reaper dash. We need to actually disable the new collision. Like, new collision needs to be false. So I've got a couple of models which I'm fairly happy with. Like the skull in general, you can see I'm using it a lot. I'm quite happy with how that came out. Like one of the first things I did in ZBrush and ended up working out fairly well. This character here is fine. I'm also not unhappy with the Reaper that we have there himself. Of course, once you have like his textures and stuff. Maybe more so than art, actually. Rigging and animation, specifically. I am not particularly like... What the fuck happened there? Seriously, what? Does he just not... He just doesn't... What the... Huh? Okay, yeah, so that might be not the way to do it. Let's try something else. Let's see, what other collision stuff do we have? Okay, that's why it takes long. It also just takes so long because I get distracted on stream specifically, and again, making games just takes a long time. But also bugs, yes. Is any... Okay, so let's think about this a different way. How else can we do this? Because what I need this guy to be... Well, I have an idea. No, that wouldn't work, would it? No, it would. Probably would. Okay, I have an idea. We're going to set this guy back to being player block enemy ignore, and I'm going to look up what the hell that one file is that I'm looking for, which would be Unreal find collision channel number custom channels, something like that. Can you get them by name? Because I can just also trace for specifically player block enemy ignore. Let's see, they show up as ECC, game trace channel 1, 2, 3, etc. in C++. If you look at engine types.h, you can see that bit would probably tell you what to deal with. Okay, engine types.h is what they get added to apparently. So let's look for that. I would very much like to look for it in here. Engine types.h. Yeah, that's not helping. This is giving me everything that includes it. Which, I guess actually if I find an include to it, I can just... Why does this include it twice? I mean, it's got a pragma once, so it's not that big a deal, but... Oh, no definition found for engine types. Well, that's fantastic. Is there a way to open that file from, not there, from here? Engine collision. Let's just look into that. Engine collision. Let's see. These settings were saved in default engine.ini, which is currently not checked out. Oh, but if it's in default engine.ini, I actually know where that file is. That one I can just find. The question is, let's just like open this in Explorer real quick. Not there, because this is just the engine. I want to open Explorer on this. We have like default engine.ini somewhere in here. I think in the config, default engine ini. Yeah, so we've got the... Where is it? Trigger, ragdoll, vehicle UI, no collision. Oh, that's profiles. Collision channel, I think, is it the one I want, right? Collision channel, redirect, static, dynamic, vehicle move, no. Yeah, it's not on this one. So you're just lying to me. See default engine ini in your project. You will... I also probably... this is easier to read anyway. Oh, here, default channel responses, channel 14. Okay, so it was in there. I just couldn't find it. So it's channel 14. So if we go in the Action RPG project, whatever, and we just say, hey, object types to add, and we say we want to add channel 14 as well. Then it will also be adding the fountain initially, but then when we actually get to the sphere overlap actors, we are casting to enemy instead anyway, right? So we're getting a T array of actors, there's actors to remove. And then, let's see, for actor and overlapping actors, we're casting it, and then only if the cast is valid do we add it back? So yeah, that should only be adding enemies now and not the fountain, I think. It might have been case sensitive. Yeah, you're right. Player block enemy ignore. Shouldn't I be capital? Yeah. But that's not the problem we're having, but it should be. You're right. You're right, yeah. In your INI file. No, but it's also... I didn't manually add it to the INI file. It's just something Unreal does. It's also not a uppercase I here either. It should be. Doesn't matter, but it should be. Okay, so now that we have all that, I did compile, right? So it still has me going toward the skeleton now with like almost no forward momentum at all, but that might actually like be a pretty good thing. I have not at all figured out what I want to do. Like, it is way too easy at this point to like, okay, he did hit me there. It's way too easy at this point to not be hit by him. So that is for sure a thing that we should be looking into, because I do like his physics for the cloth, even though it clips through the ribs. Look into that at a later date because it's a pain, but it actually does look pretty cool. His defense bar also straight up does not reset, and again, he just like, it's way too easy for him to miss me. Which is a problem that the night boss also had. I think I need to implement some sort of IK related stuff. Oh, there we go. For that. Okay, I should be adding actual damage to those abilities as well now. So I think it's as easy as just like damage to player here, right? So we just copy this over. That already seems to have it. And so does this. So something ain't fully adding. Oh, the character itself isn't sending that message. Yeah, so let's get the damage box. I think I'm already turning it on and off, but we'll see in a moment. Overlap for that component specifically. And we don't even need to, yeah, we don't even need to send gameplay messages and stuff anymore for that, because we now just have deal damage to player. So we can just say, hey, the hit actor is the other actor. The damage source is just this. Self, because why would you just call it this? That would be altogether too. And then we just like damage. Enemy to damage player damage, whatever. I think this is all that it really needs. Because the abilities themselves don't actually change anything about any of those. Like the ones that deal more damage, right? How do I do that? Because I think what I'm doing there is I'm just... Well, I'm not really doing anything for these, I don't think. Let me figure this out real quick. Because we have the, like, night attack 1. I don't have a damage value. They straight up just don't have a damage value. I thought they had a damage value. I guess they don't. Should be easily implementable because I think what it uses is the strength value on the attributes, which we can of course just override anytime we do something. If we don't have that set up at all for our code at the moment for anything, we can just leave it at what it is right now. But now it should be able to damage us is the thing, I think. Let's figure out whether or not it can damage us. Just walk right up to it and get smacked in the face, which... Body. Body, what are you doing? Body, you're not hitting me. You're very not hitting me. You're the opposite of doing what you should be doing. You should be trying to hit me. Yeah, just like that. That's what you should be doing to me. Come on, your turn. It's not very good at hitting me up close. I remember why we did it the way we did it. Because when it is in this state, this does need to interrupt it. Yeah, okay. But that's not a problem anymore because we fixed the other thing. So, we can just remove this. Let's remove this. No, no, hold on. This already only does the dash. Oh, so we never had a thing here that does... Okay, so this just needs to be set back to awarding lower priority. Still doesn't fix the fact that those animations are just way too, like, static. Somebody's fucking dying. And don't hit me. And we need to fix that. Probably with some sort of... Okay, they're not damaging me. They are not, in fact, damaging me. Why not? Is it because it's not yet setting those hitboxes? Let's just see. Print Scala man hits with horrible spelling. Like, doesn't do any overlapping whatsoever. Because I'm thinking that it might not. Yes, it just straight up doesn't do any overlapping. Why would that be? What is this? This damage box not being set to true, maybe? Because it does overlap everything, so that should be that should be good. Then I'm thinking what is happening is in the Reaper boss. Where is the animation blueprint for this fucker? Somewhere in here, surely. We'll get there, we'll get there, we'll get there. There it is. No, that should be... Because the trail is working, so these are firing. And set trail active. Oh, that only sets the trail active. Do we have like anything to do with the collision? Weapon collision or whatever. Probably be easy to check in here. Maybe not. How did we do this for the other dude? Probably badly is how. Okay, so we have just a damage box state, and that was something that didn't have blueprint. Oh my god. Update damage box, which is a part of ground enemy base. Add actual local rotation. Why am I even doing that? What the hell is this line of code? What? Okay, well, just ignore that for the time being. I'm thinking those should be combined into some function like turn weapon on or whatever. But for now, let's just damage box. What was the function called again? I already forgot it. Update damage box. Which is ground enemy base. So that it should have access to that. Update damage box. There we go. That will set it back to false. And this will set it to true. But then we have, okay, so this is not ideal, but damage box. Yeah, we need to fix that up as well. But that's not AI coding related, and we've done so much stuff that wasn't AI coding related today that I don't really want to spend too much time on that. I don't think. Adding local rotation of 0. Finds programming. I don't even know like what was the purpose of that at that time. Because like this literally does nothing. Right? All this does is waste some CPU instructions. And maybe not even that. Maybe well, it does waste something, because even if it has something built in where it sees that it's adding nothing, like it's still calling this function, right? So technically that still does take some amount of processing, surely. But since it's a static function, maybe the compiler just gets rid of it. That would be nice, but it's C++, so probably not. Anyway, so now it should be able to damage us. Except that he swipes us out of the way before he can actually hit us because of the... Still doesn't fucking damage me. What? Why not? Actually, why not? Here, let's go into... overlap. Generate overlap events is on by default. I'm just going to, for shits and giggles, is get generate overlap event, and we're just going to print that every frame. Just to see what's happening. Like, is that the issue, or is it literally just that he's not hitting me because the weapon... It's okay, it's false. By default, it gets set to false at the start. That makes sense. But the attack is not setting it to true. Which makes no sense, because that's literally what this is supposed to do, right? Oh. Oh. So, we're gonna pretend like that didn't happen. We can all agree on that, right? That didn't happen. So now he should be able to damage me. And he actually does damage me. Fantastic. Interesting, I have a hitbox actor cube static mesh. which has a damage amount in variable. When it overlaps with the target received damage function, why don't you implement the same? Because I use gameplay ability system. So like a lot of like the way I apply damage and stuff like that is dealt through the gameplay ability system, not through like my own code. So what this does is, like, I could make a actor as a damage box that just always applies the damage to player thing, and then make that a child actor of this. I guess that's something that I could do. Would save me a little bit of time every time I add it to a character, to be fair. So yeah, I could do that, but aside from that is it has to run all this code anyway, right? Which is, right now it's in a blueprint function library. That could just be a function on an actor that I add to everything, but then every damage box becomes an actor instead of being a component, which is like not a huge deal, but also I don't think it's particularly like, in my mind, that functionality isn't complex enough to give it its own. There's no reason to make that its own actor. If anything, I could make it its own component still, though. That is still a thing that I could do. Could just make a child of the like standard box component and add that code to that. Yeah, that might make more sense to do that way, to be honest. To make a damage box components. Yeah, now that might make sense. I'm not going to do it right now, but yeah, that is probably a better idea. Because then I don't have to go through every single one of my enemies and like add this setup to it. That makes sense. But then for all the damaging code and stuff like that, there's like a bit more going on than just an integer being subtracted, because I'm using gameplay ability, which also comes with a whole bunch of cool upsides. But that's entirely unrelated to me like hard coding this into every single enemy effectively the same way anyway. So I probably should improve that. That's actually a very good point. So yeah, let's take a look. I need to figure out the whole it not hitting me, right? Because when I'm this close to him, his reach is just too big. His reach just is so big that he literally cannot hit me. Which I need to do something about. I just don't know what. Like just adding IK to the arm isn't actually going to help all too much either, I don't think. Because I don't think the IK is going to allow him to like angle his arm in such a way that he's going to be able to hit me regardless. So if I just... What I need is an attack for him to do when I'm right the fuck close up to him. That's what I need, I think. So an attack that makes it dangerous to stick around here for too long. So you want to get a little bit of your distance back, and then, but these attacks, like, I have to try to get hit by them. If I just like walk through them, I literally just walk through them. So that's a problem. He did just kill me though. Because I was trying to get hit for the most part. So yeah, that is an issue. Connecting a delta time to print string duration will... Yeah, I don't care about that. I can just remove that altogether anyway. But you are right, that does do that, but it's like it's for debug purposes anyway, right? So who cares about that being on screen? Also, that only works... Oh, hold on. No, you're right. It's this one. I was going to say that only works when it's actually an event tick, but that was the one I was spamming. For me personally, I have a habit of forgetting that certain things are like printing as well. So if they spam on screen, I'm more likely to to solve them. I have to think about the animation now though, because a part of the... Okay, so a part of the solution might literally just be... where the fuck is he? Where did he go? We're over there. Okay. Part of the solution, honestly, might literally just be making him smaller. If I just go to, I think, general, and I set this to like 0.9 instead of 1.5, he's just gonna be smaller. And if I then go into the blueprint itself, he's going to be less imposing as well, though. That is the only downside to it, which I want the fight to still be somewhat large. Can I please just select this thing? Thank you very much. And I set this to like 0.15. Maybe? There's just going to be less distance between him and me, which is going to lead to... Okay, we need to also lower, at this point, this spline actor quite a bit. Yeah, so now he's barely larger than me, but it does make... Yeah, so it does make him actually, like, more likely to hit me. I think. Almost. Yeah, so that attack now actually does hit me, and he's still a fair bit larger than me, right? He's still, like, 2 or 3 times my size. It's just like that specific attack, he needs to be angled down a little more. But that is a good start. I just can't help but feel like he might be a little too small now. Maybe? I don't know. And still, when we are very close up to him, he still misses us quite badly. So maybe, just maybe, the whole thing about him having this part of his collision be... Oh, it is blocking pawns, is it? Oh, never mind then. That's not a solution. Okay, that is... Okay. But now maybe, with him being smaller, implementing some kind of IK to the arms for him to be aiming at the player, at least partly, might make sense, but I frankly have no idea how to implement that, because I've looked into... I need to stop scratching my mosquito bite. I've looked into some stuff like that, doing real-time IK, because I want to make a video on it as well. Seems like useful stuff to share and figure out. But that is just... Like, you give it the hand position, and it positions the arm. That is how most IK works, right? But I don't want to give it a hand position. I want to give it a position of where the blade should be at a certain part of the animation specifically. And I have no idea how to implement or calculate anything even close to that. Like, how do you even begin to do that, right? I have an idea for like at a certain part of the animation, Because what we could do is we could have like a curve throughout the animation that influences how much the IK is being blended. So we can have a blend through a certain value, and then that value is being driven through a animation curve. So as the animation goes on, we get closer to being entirely driven by that IK. And that might make the animation work a little bit better. But then we still get to the problem of how do I calculate where the hand needs to be in order for the blade to overlap with the player. Because that seems like a massive fucking problem in order to figure that out. Like, actually really annoying. I guess what we could just try to figure out is, through a little bit of trial and error, is if we have... The character is here, like, right? The boss is here and the player is here. We could just try to see, like, okay, if we have the hand about here, then the scythe will probably, like, do its thing, probably. Maybe... I don't know. It seems like... Hold on, I gotta put something on this mosquito bite because it's itching real bad. I'll explain the whole mosquito bite thing in a moment because it's the most annoying one I've had in like a while. I just don't know if I have anything at the moment to put on it. This usually does work pretty well. Well, that'll do for now. It's not great, but I'm like 50-50 on if this actually does anything to stop itching. But, you know, placebo effect is also an effect, so who cares? I feel like this is one of those old wives' tales where like I put like white vinegar on it, which is supposed to make it itch less. And I feel like that kind of works, but again, I also feel like that's probably a placebo effect. But is it a placebo effect if I think it is a placebo effect and it still works? Like, am I, like, triple reverse psychologying me into it working? I don't know. I probably should just, like, get a proper little bit of cream. So yeah, the mosquito bite. I had a mosquito bite, like, 2 days ago, and the fucking annoying little shit bit me right in between like 2 of my fingers. So right in between like 2 knuckles. Turns out that's a pretty sensitive piece of like muscle and flesh, which does not like being bitten by mosquitoes. So I have a couple other mosquito bites, some of which have grown like quite large in like their allergic reaction. And when I say allergic reaction, I don't mean like I'm dying or anything, but technically speaking, anybody who gets like itchy mosquito bites, that is an allergic reaction. But probably because this part moves so much and it's so delicate and stuff like that, it's had a quite heavy reaction to the point where, like right now I can close my fingers properly again, but like, yesterday afternoon, my middle finger just wouldn't close all the way. That's like how bad it was. So, yeah, very long, not relevant story at all. But I've been sitting here throughout this entire stream, itching out of my mind and trying not to scratch it, which I know only will make it worse. But oh my god, it is horrible. Hopefully tomorrow it'll be a little bit better. I also slept like shit as a result of it. So yeah, I guess we just try to figure it out. I haven't really done any IK real-time stuff yet, but I know the basic idea behind it. So if we take this and I go into the animation graph, right? I can set the, I think it is like IK rig or this control rig. We have a control rig node which we can put in some stuff for the control rig class, which will be this one, and then we can drive that control rig. As you can see, it's not doing anything at the moment, but if we set this alpha, which is just the blend between the input and the control rig, to 0, it doesn't do anything. But if we now set this to like 0.5, it should, yeah, it's just doing the same thing but closer to a T-pose, right? So if we hook up this alpha to a curve of an animation, and at the peak where the actual impact needs to happen, the alpha is 1, and then it like goes back down to 0. We should be able to have a control rig that rotates or positions the hand close-ish to the player in a way. And we can drive that through the animation and blending. We also can have our... I think we can just set our control. So we have like a IK control for this guy. Do we have IK set up for him? I think we might have not made IK for him. Did we make IK? I don't think we made IK. Let's see. Yeah, we didn't make IK. Oh, that is... Okay, that is an issue that I did not think about. So we won't be using this rig then. What we'll be doing is we will be copying this rig over and we'll call this Reaper IK rig. We won't be using this for the actual animation. But just to have all the controls and stuff already in place, more or less. I think that is a side hand, right? So we just hooked that up to some IK stuff. So we... I think 3-bone IK is probably what we want. Oh, now we get all this access stuff. I hate this. That's the one thing I'll tell you about control rig stuff compared to just rigging stuff in Blender. Is that the IK in Blender is just a lot more intuitive, at least to me. I'm also thinking about next character that I do. I want to use ZBrush for making him. And I have some ideas for animations that require like morphing. And I have no idea how to set up that morphing inside of Unreal. So I'm probably going to be doing those, those animations within Blender. Which might mean that I do the rigging and animation as a whole inside Blender for that character. Which will be a fun little exercise, I think, because we'll have done like 2 or 3 characters in Unreal full rigging and animation. Then going back into Blender, seeing, hey, maybe there's some upsides to doing it in Blender. And maybe I'll move away from rigging everything in Unreal. I don't know. I do like doing everything in Unreal, just because I have everything together in one place. Engine types are included twice. Funny, they'll only link once. So no problem, but that's hilarious. How far behind are you? Or did I just... No. We did run into that earlier. But yeah, no, it has Pragma 1s in it. So if it doesn't, that actually could be an issue, I think. But with Pragma 1s, it will only include everything once anyway, so it's not a big deal. Okay, how do we do this again? Pull vector now. Where's the control now to begin with? I don't think that this should be there, right? Because now if we... actually... Oh, that should be fine. That should be fine, I think. Good question. Good question. Is that fine or not? Guess we'll figure it out. So we have this control. I don't think we want to be using this one. I think this is the one that we do want. And we also need to figure out how to set it so that it only affects certain bones, because again, that's a thing that it can do. I'm not sure how. Bone D, foot, tie control option. Is it IK2 bone that I... Basic IK? No. IK2 bone it is then, right? Pull vector node. And control, that's the thing that I'm looking for. Okay, so type control name. Oh, we don't even need to get it. We just put this in here, and now we have the pull vector, which I guess we can just copy over as hand R pull, which we then move. And this is gonna be messy. It's gonna be really messy, but we'll figure it out together. Set, offset, transform from current. So now if we compile, it stays there, right? Yes. Okay, so this will be our pull vector. Is the ID, I think. And then bone A will be... Yeah, good question. Which bone will that be? It's arm L. No, not arm L, arm R. I hope I put the scythe in that arm. Guess we'll figure it out in a moment. So that is bone 1. That is then bone 2. And I don't know if that's a fly or a mosquito, but if you're a mosquito, you're gonna fucking die. Okay, I think he left. Your kind has made me suffer enough as it is this week. So, in theory, this is not gonna work, right? No, that would have been altogether too nice. So why doesn't that work? Now, honestly, why doesn't that work? We can get rid of all this other control stuff. We're not going to be using any of this. I was expecting something to go wrong, but not for us to straight up just say, hey, we ain't doing shit. Why isn't it doing anything? I was expecting this thing to like twist around very weirdly. But it's not even doing that. Well, what? We're gonna go to the knight that I have, which does have, I think, somewhere in here an IK2 bone. So we have the control node for the pull vector. I don't even know what's going on with this guy. Yeah, so why doesn't this work? Is it because it is a control rig on something that already has a control rig? Because that would be fucked. Surely that can't be it. honestly don't know. Honestly, I have no idea. Let's just say a basic IK instead. Just see if that does something. So we have bone. You can just select them like this. Like that's bone 1. I think. Oh, that's the pull vector. Hold on. No. That's bone 1. It's bone 2. And this is another reason why it is nice to rig everything in Unreal, because, well, I suppose this is gameplay rigging. So we're making a new rig anyway. Never mind. That doesn't quite make sense what I was about to say. I was going to say because then we can do all this like real-time IK stuff, but we're making a separate thing for that anyway. Warning. Items length are not provided. Either item... Yeah, how about you just shut up? It's just literally not doing anything. Why not? You can get a pull vector from this. If we set that to location, we get this control. We simply can get the translation from that, and that should then set the pull vector, but it's still not applying any IK. Okay, I'm going to try real quick, because I'm thinking it might actually be to do with this. If I go back into here, right, we do this, and I say, you actually don't do anything. Matter of fact, you're not relevant. Does that in any way impact how this thing works? Because if it does, I'm going to be upset. No, it does not. That both is relieving, but in and of itself also kind of upsetting. Is it something to do with the IK, or is it just something weird? Let's just for shits and giggles, make new controls for all these things. Just kind of to test at this point, right? So new add controls for selected. Let's create item array for this. We're just going to see if the FK for all of this works. If I just drag this in, does it? No, it only does the one. Of course it does. Sure, there's a better way to expand all of these at once. Some shortcut for that, but okay, so FK chain. That's bones. That controls. Does this work? Like if I now take this and I rotate it, that does work. So I'm just fucking something up with the IK. But I'm actually just frankly not sure what. Because this should, by all accounts, work. Let's real quick see if Google has anything to say about it. Unreal control rig 2bone IK not doing anything. Works on arms but not legs. Oh, hold on, that's Unity. I don't care about Unity. Hold on. animation blueprint itself has IK too. Does it? Two bone. No, it doesn't. Two bone IK function. Yeah, it kind of does. So maybe we don't actually need to do that. We can just do IK. Okay, two bone IK. Put that in there. Put that in there. Component pose. Hold on. Local to components. I need to figure out how this works before I can actually do this. Because I think this is what isolates specific bones, right? But that is probably a good idea to not force this to use control rig because it just straight up has built-in functionality for that. Let's see if we have any more IK stuff that I maybe can use. Hand IK retargeting. What does this do? Handle retargeting of IK bone chain. Moves IK bone chain to meet FK hand bones based on hand FK weight. Not really what I'm looking for. So yeah, it takes in a tag. Can I like give tags to bones or something like that? Is that how that works? Oh, no, not in there. Probably in the details. Add socket, add virtual bone. Yeah, now I need to look into this a little bit more before I can do anything useful with this, I think. Unreal, animation, blueprint, two bone, IK. Animation offsets. Oh, that might be something interesting. Animation offsets. That is a thing that I have seen at some point, but never actually bothered to look into. Anim offsets. Those are blend spaces. So how does that work again? Animation, because we have a thing here for animation offset, right? Or was that just a blend? That might have just been a thing with blends. Oh no, here, legacy. But it's legacy, so there's probably they want you to use something. Oh, just anim offsets. So let's take a look at our Reaper. Yeah, just okay. Yeah, there's all functionality that I'm not too familiar with. Again, animation-related stuff I am lukewarm on in general, as far as like what I can do with them. So not very educational with this. Aside from the fact that I suppose it's interesting to see me horribly fail at trying to find a solution. But I don't think we're going to find a solution for the IK stuff here today. So maybe we shouldn't be looking into that too much. Because at this point, like, I think what we can do is, like, can we just, like, drag... Okay, preview base pose. We can... It is interesting to just play around with a little bit. Like, I don't even know... I don't even know. I don't think this is what we want. Maybe it is what we want. This is generally an issue with both of the boss fights I have so far. The normal enemies don't really seem to have this issue, mostly due to like a matter of skill, the fact that their hands are the actual weapon, so they just like hit you with their hands, which doesn't introduce the same kind of issue that I'm having here. It is the fact that the hand itself isn't the weapon, but a hinge that holds the actual weapon inside of it, which creates problems for me. So for now, we're just going to kind of deal with that. What else can we do in the next like half hour? Still. Let's just try to... Oh! Resetting its defense. I mean, it is pretty close to hitting us there, so that is... It is way too easy and static for a boss fight so far. So we need to decide what to do with its defense bar in general. I've got the same weapon as you, mate. Get fucked, I got a better one. Okay, it's below 60% now, so at some point it should also just decide to, yes, do that. That's exactly... Okay. There's no incentive to maintain your distance. I think him being a boss fight, he should also have a state in which he's just like, fuck you, I'm not taking damage and I'm screwing you over. Matter of fact, I think that's kind of what... Okay, I'm starting to put things together in my mind. So what we probably should do is we should make him... maybe not invincible, but make it damn near impossible to actually like fight him head on when he's in his aggressive state. Then whenever we have him do that, that attack is what should probably move him into his passive state. So you have to dodge him, but not so far out the way that you can't get back to him to actually start hitting him. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. So we put a sequence here instead. But that is an issue. I guess we take away the fact that this is only under 60% health, and we just do this like that. And then once that is done, like wait a moment, and we change the boss state to passive. And do we have like a blackboard? We don't have anything to set a blackboard key directly, I don't think. That might require a little bit of rework then, if we want to do it that way. But yeah, this should more or less make it near impossible to effectively fight him. So let's actually just set this to even lower, like only a second. Because he's just going to be constantly attacking you when you're near him while he's aggressive. And he's always going to be moving toward you. So he's going to be trying to attack you. Then he does this. And after he does that, he chills around a little while in this state until he turns back. So for now, let's go update boss info. I don't think I want to have this function itself. Just somewhere in here. Toggle. Yeah, maybe we don't want to do the wait time anymore. We still do want to have the passive wait time, I think. Because that is going to be the... or the state time, rather. Because that's going to be the how long do we stick around in this before we go there. And then how long do we stick around in here before we go back there. That is still something that we want to be able to influence on the blackboard here. But what we don't want is this service setting that. What we want is probably to have this cooldown be replaced by a decorator that takes in the state time and only allows for this to happen when state time is over that value. At which time it will return true and set state time back to 0. No, this won't be setting the state time back to 0. It will be the set boss enum state that should set it back to 0. So let's add that variable here. State timer key. So blackboard key selector. Set value as float. And we'll just set that to 0. So whenever we change from state to state, whatever happens, that timer is going to be reset to 0. So that is a good start. And then update boss info is going to need to be changed as well. So that is a BT service, I think. Update boss info. This will no longer look into the update state. So if state timer is save as set value as float, that still makes sense. Get boss state enum from blackboard. Yeah, so we remove that. If the timer is... yeah, we also don't want to do that anymore. We want to leave that up to the tasks themselves. So all we want to do is owner get set value as floats. So this is all we want to do here. And we should probably call that update state timer at this point, but hold on, now we do want to actually do that. We don't need to ulog. Actually, let's keep ulog timer for now, because we're going to be changing things, so it's maybe a good idea to keep that in there. Yeah, so now this will only update the state info, update boss info, takes HP percent and stuff, that's fine. Update HP percent, that's fine. Take node, does all that, sure. Let's get rid of the boss state key, because we're no longer using that. And these are the... oh yeah, we also need to look into this, because I don't think this is working properly yet. maybe. We'll see. The different states and stuff. Or the different phases, rather. Okay, so now this doesn't have that anymore, but this should. Yeah, so enum key is... I think it's literally just state, yes. For this one, it picked the right one, so that's impressive. Oh, no, it already had that. It is the state timer key that I need to assign. So this will set that back to 0. So we've reworked that now to be part of the actual switching. So it'll never reset this to 0 without actually switching. Now what we need to do is we need to switch the cooldown for check state timer. So let's make that. Enemies AI, new class. All classes, decorator, Pavitry decorator, BTD, check. Let's just check blackboard floats. No, we don't need to do that. We actually don't need to do that. Never mind. We have something for that already. A normal blackboard decorator. If we just get a normal blackboard decorator and we query the state timer, if this is greater than... no, we do need to make something for that. I'm gonna say, if this is greater than whatever value, we can just pass it through. But the thing is, we need to compare one key to another key. And this doesn't let us do that. So, yeah, no, okay. So we do need to make a new service for that. Or decorator. Decorator. BTD, compare float keys. And we can make a quite robust one here, if we want to. Because, frankly, that's probably going to be the last thing we do today, and we've got the time to mess about a little bit and have some fun. So we have a new property for the state timer and the state timer duration. But we're going to be calling them something different. So we have key A and key B. Then we have somewhere in here, yeah, the tick node function. We're just going to copy that over. Create a definition. So now the easiest thing to do is just do this. But we probably don't actually need to do all that. Actually, maybe... Hold on, there was some useful code in there. Blackboard component get blackboard component. I don't know if that is... Yes, actually that is required. Okay, so then we finish latent task. Succeed, fail. Doesn't it just return a ball? Am I losing my mind? Oh, it's tick node. That's why. I calculate raw condition value is what I need. There we go. And that just returns a bool. This code we still kind of want though, so let's just presumably that also does need a super though. Oh, hold on, what the super? Don't know if that's needed, but we're just gonna include it. So okay, this we could very simply just say if they are equal, we return true, and if they're not equal, we return false. This will just check for whether or not they're equal, right? But they're never going to be equal, first and foremost, because that's not how floats work. So we would want to check whether or not value A is greater than or equal to. This works for what I wanted to do right now, which is ground. That's amazing. But this strikes me as the kind of node that I'm going to be able to reuse very easily later on. So what we're actually going to do is I'm going to make a enum compare, which I think we just say enum class compare uint 8 equal, not equal, less or equal, greater or equal. There's probably already an enum that does this. We're going to make our own. Because then we just very easily say, hey, we compare. Default value will be greater or equal, right? And here we go into, let's make a separate function for that. Bool compare. E compare compare method. I don't know that this needs to be const. And here we just make a switch statement. So we switch on compare method, where if compare method is equal, we return A equal B, break. And then case not equal, we break. Case less than, less or equal. And this is where Copilot really comes in handy, right? Because this is really quite nice being able to just do it like this. I think that's all of the enum values that we had. That's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we only had the 6, right? That's 2, 4, and 6. Yeah. At default, we just don't do anything, and then we I don't even know if we need to return outside of the switch statement. I guess we just return false inside the defaults, and that should be all there is to that. So instead of doing all this, which is quite annoying, what we'll do instead is we will return, compare. We don't want the random value actually. Oh, this is random chance. This is the wrong function. We can just copy this. That's not a big deal. We want to compare float keys though. I'm So just put that in there. Make sure that the class name that we're taking this from is the proper one though. And then I guess we copy this one over from compare to, or from random chance to compare. So compare float keys. Let's put the functions together at the top. Yeah, so instead of doing this here, what we're going to do is we're just going to do that compare function that we made. We're going to return the value from that, from value A, value B, and our compare method. So that should now give us a node that lets us compare two different Blackboard keys to each other, and also select what type of comparison that we're doing. There is an issue though with random chance 33. Let's see. Oh, that's probably because I made yeah. It's a little weird that that actually makes a problem. But we do want that random chance thing to actually exist in the compare float keys anyway. So it's a good thing that it pulled our attention to that. And then we'll troubleshoot the actual problem in a moment. But this enum type, which should be a blueprint enum type as well, because we're going to be needing to reference it inside of our behavior tree. Or a U enum. Yeah, exactly. So U enum blueprint type, and then that should be all that we need. So I'm not entirely certain why that's been a problem. But maybe it isn't anymore. It still is. Cannot open file enemies. Okay, that is an entirely different issue, which is easy to solve because that is just action RPG projects. One of these days this game is going to be finished, or at least like all the classes that I need for it are going to be coded, and I don't have to deal with it anymore. Tick node member function not declared in... Is it not? Yeah, that's because this does not need to have a tick node. That's entirely on me. Compare method. Undeclared identifier CPP 17. Oh, we need to pass in the member for that instead. You see, sometimes Copilot does mess up. And you need to be aware of what it actually needs to be. So you can't turn your brain off just because you're using Copilot. The fuck is the problem now? Like making this const? What? What about this is const? Oh, I accidentally... Huh? Cannot convert this pointer from... Yeah, whatever. So what is the actual problem? Because I'm not quite sure. Bool UBDT compare float keys, compare float e compare cannot convert this pointer from const compare float keys to Did I call them something different? I just called this compare, and I just called that compare. Am I losing my mind? I mean, something fuck is going on here, but that's... not right. No, I think so, but we... it's line 17. So it's right here. Return compare. Returns a bool. Trying to match argument list. Why does it think it's a const e compare? I don't. Oh, this is e compare method. Why does it think that's a const value? What makes it think that is a const value? Just to be sure that that is not fucking with it in any way. It shouldn't be. Yeah, that's definitely not it. Compare float keys, CPP. The header file, 34. Let's look at that, I guess. Bool compare. Float A, float B, e compare method. That fully adds up for me. I am legitimately quite lost. No, this should be... I was going to say it's trying to get these from the keys directly, but they need to be floats, and that might be... but that's not it either. Something about this is being weird. Oh, no, there we go. Trying to match argument list. Float, const, e compare. Why does it think it's const? Note C declaration of U, BDT, D, la la la. Compare float keys. Compare. C declaration. Okay, let's go to the declaration. So bool, compare, floats, e compare. I don't see a fucking const keyword here at all. Don't know what the hell you're on about. Conversion loses qualifiers. Bool compare float keys. Compare. Cannot convert this pointer from const. Okay, what we're going to do... I won't know what the issue is if this solves it. So what we're going to do is we're going to just delete that. And then try to make a definition for it again. And see if just pasting it in again changes anything. Now the declaration and the definition should at least match. I don't think there's anything different. There isn't. What if I just return, just for shits and giggles, we just return true here. We don't actually call that method at all. Not all control paths return a value. I suppose we also need to, like, if we don't break out of this, we also need to return something. Even though we're always going to have a breakout. I guess compiler doesn't understand that. Okay. Not all control paths return a value. You want to bet. Return. 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 The fuck do you mean not everything returns a value? Oh. This one that doesn't return a value everywhere. Yeah, no, that's fair. Okay, so that does compile now. Still doesn't do what I wanted to do though. So let's now try to call compare. Key value A, value, B value. If those fail for whatever reason, that should just return 0 for those. And now it's going to have a problem again, right? Yeah, now it's going to have a problem again. Why the fuck does it have a problem? I mean... Maybe this needs to be const? Yeah, that does make sense. Why would it be const if I'm exposing it to a U property? Like, that's nonsensical. We had this issue, we had this whole epiphany about this in Godot after like an hour, where I was trying to export a const value, which doesn't make sense, because if it's a constant, you're not going to change it. Is the issue that it's in the protected section? For some godforsaken reason? Is that the issue? Can't be that. Yeah, it's not. I should probably just Google the error. Okay, let's close a couple of classes here so that I don't get mixed up anymore. Random chance we don't need. Compare float keys. It's the only thing we need here. Let's close everything else so I can focus. Oh, this does need to return compare. It also seems like it's not recognizing. Like if I try to return, it's not recognizing compare as a function that exists here. Right? That's weird. Do I need to add that to that as well? Is that the issue? That can't be the issue. I'm trying real hard to figure out what the issue is. And it's just not... Nothing is going on in my head at the moment. Let's just try to compile again and just copy paste it into Google at this point. Because maybe someone has an answer for me there. Compare is not identified or found. Okay, so at least we can agree on that being an issue. But why? Because it's literally right here. It's right there. It's right there. Okay, we're going to do one thing slightly differently as well, because the fact that this is weirdly colored also kind of bothers me. So we're going to... Yeah, why does that become blue? Let's... just because do this super as well. I don't think we did it in the other one, but compare identifier not found. Why? Oh, no. I was gonna say maybe the issue is that I'm not declaring it as like a bool thing, but I am. It is time for the ChatGPT. My compare function isn't being recognized in my CPP file. Why? This is the header file. That's the upside to such tiny files. You can just apply it entirely to ChatGPT. And this is my CPP file. The issues with your code is a typo in raw. Fuck. Okay. We're gonna be back to the other issue now. But that's progress. Getting back where we were. Okay. That solved that issue. Now I get this error. Error encountering is due to the fact that method is a const method, but you're trying to call a non-const compare method. To solve this, you need to make... Oh, you... Oh. Probably should have thought about that. Probably should have figured that out quicker. Let's see. There we go. There we go. Yeah, compare was spelled wrong. It's kind of bad that I didn't see that before. So compare float keys. So now we get the key A will be our state timer, and then this will be our aggression duration, and we will check whether or not it's greater or equal to. So this should work fairly well. We don't need to abort anything for that. It's just whenever we get to this, we get to it. So yes, that should solve all my troubles in the world. Except not really, obviously, because fuck. Let's close a couple of things here as well. I don't want to think about the IK stuff. I really don't want to think about any of that stuff right now. Okay, I'm going to set this side by side just to see the values and the progression of the behavior tree itself, which is... Ooh, gonna zoom out quite far in order to see that. And let's just see. Let's just see. So yeah, that's the aggression timer to 60 seconds there by default. Where even is he? Oh, there he is. Which is quite long, to be fair. Because something still does not fully work. Because it's supposed to do that at the last state, like when his HP is almost entirely gone. But it just does that immediately. So something about the comparing code isn't functioning as it should be. I'm gonna ask a question not related to Gamedev itself. There was a layoff in my company. I was one of the victims. Where would you recommend uploading CVs now? I don't fucking know. No idea. Okay, so state timer is now beyond aggression duration, which should prompt it to whenever this go around ends. No. Okay. Oh, that's what it. Yeah, that's what's happening. Something is happening. That's for fucking sure. And then it should go wait for a moment. And now it is passive. So I don't actually think we need that waiting node in there. We also have this random chance, right? So after the aggression duration is allows him to finally do this attack. It also has a, I think, 50% chance to actually do it every time. So even if we're like at 90 seconds, this can still return a fail, at which point it will do this again. And then after it's done, whatever happens here, it will try this again. So at some point it will move along. I do like having that a little bit of randomness in there so that it's not statically just doing one thing and then the next and then the next and then the next and then the next. On like actually only on timers, so that's probably fine. That does lead me into one last thing that I want to check though, because what it is doing is it's checking whether or not like the health threshold is, it should be under 10% and only then should it set a state timer and the passive wait time. So I'm guessing it's just, I'm using the wrong symbol here. Update boss info. Let's see. Update HP percent. We have that, I think. Update state. Update boss info. This is... So if boss HP percent is less than or equal health threshold. Okay. then it will log the boss HP percent and set the values of the state time and duration and the passive wait time to info dot those things, and that info is the element out of the array. So that should mean that we see that happen 3 times every half a second. But it only does boss info updated once. You can't hit me here. Fuck off. Yeah, so it does boss info updated only once. You would think that, but why does it only do it once? Unless I just have the wrong key selected. Could that be it? Boss health is HP percent. That's definitely not it. Oh, I think I know. No, that doesn't make sense still. I was gonna say, I know what happens. That key is at a value of 0 at the start, so it immediately goes down here to a value of 0. But then half a second later, it should go through with its new value and get stuck on this one. So it almost seems like it's working its way back through from the bottom to the top, but that's not how arrays work. So, and HP percent is getting set properly, right? HP percent is, yeah, it is 100. Oh, I get it. I get it. It sets it to this value once. Because at the very start of the battle, it is this value. Because it's 0. Then it goes through. And it's checking, am I under 70? No, I'm not under 70, so I'm not going to be employing these. So what I need to do is I need to put like its default values at health threshold 100 and say state time duration here is going to be, I don't know, like 24. Its passive wait time is going to be like 5.5. Still not ideal, the way that works, obviously, but now and then it updates to the proper values. Okay, we've got that fixed as well now. I guess we want to check, just in case in the future that gives any problems. We want to check whether or not, where's the N percent? There. Boss HP percent is greater than 0. But we also just need to have this, because even if we remove this now, right, it's going to just keep those values at nothing. So we do need the default values at 100% health included there as well. Okay, that fixes that issue as well. We're getting somewhere. The only thing that we really need to figure out still is like the arcade stuff, but again, we're not going to be doing that today. Because I don't know how. honestly is the answer. But that's the main thing we need to do. The IK and the passive like taunting animation, and from there I think we pretty much have a boss fight working then. So it's been a good one. We did some stuff, mostly tweaking stuff, but we did stuff, which is cool. I'm gonna end the stream here now today because it's been almost 3 hours actually. We've gone quite long. I'll probably be back sometime this weekend, probably on Sunday. Kind of depends. I'm also recording the last Kingdom Hearts episode for the lore podcast this weekend. I think we're recording on a Saturday, but I also don't think we've actually decided which day we're recording that. So whatever day I'm not recording that podcast, I'm probably going to be doing some more Godot streaming because I do want to get a move on with that game. Another like 5 or 6 hour stream will probably allow me to go most of the way, hopefully, most of the way through the rest of the development. It's going to be a fairly simple, low skill type of game. Yeah, so I'm hoping that with one more stream we should be most of the way through, because I also need to like actually edit that down into a video. The first 6 hour stream ended up being like 22 minutes of footage once cut down, which is still quite a lot actually. So hopefully within one more stream we should be able to do that, and then I have all the time in the world to actually edit that into a proper devlog, which will be a fun little video. So probably be back sometime this weekend, and otherwise I'll be back to whatever we're doing here next week on Tuesday. See you later.